The New York Rangers lost Game 4 to the Florida Panthers 3-2 in overtime, which ended up tying this series up at 2 games apiece after the Rangers won Games 2 and 3 in overtime. They lost Game 4 in overtime, and that tied this series up. And now it is headed back to New York for Game 5, where the Rangers hopefully come out with a much better performance than they did in Game 4. So now let's take a look at some players who I think have done a pretty good job so far in this Eastern Conference Finals matchup for the Rangers. Kind of talk about the things that need to be better, things that were good, as well as kind of take a look at some potential lineup changes for Game 5 at home in New York, and take a look at a few post-game quotes from that Game 4 loss. Starting off here, though, let's take a look at the players who I think have done a pretty good job so far in this series, starting off with the best player by far. I didn't think it's that close, and that is Igor Shesterkin. This guy has been such a phenomenal goaltender so far in these entire playoffs, but also this Eastern Conference Finals matchup against the Panthers, where he has 14 games played so far, 10 wins, a 2.37 goals against average, and a .925 save percentage. He continues year after year to prove that he is an elite goaltender in the playoffs, as over his entire NHL career so far in the playoffs, he's got 42 games played, a 2.42 goals against average, and a .928 save percentage. He has continued to play absolutely phenomenal. He has been a great goaltender so far in this series against the Panthers. And I think overall, he is a massive, massive reason in why this series is 2 games apiece right now. And I would definitely say he has been the MVP of the Rangers so far in these playoffs. Taking a look now at the next guy here, I have Alexis Lafreniere. He has been phenomenal. This is a guy who has really kind of taken a massive step forward this season in the regular season, but also in the playoffs so far. I mean, last year in that 7-game series against the Devils, he ended up having 0 goals, 0 assists, for 0 points, obviously. Now this year, he is nearly at a point per game after 14 games played. He has 7 goals, 6 assists for 13 total points. And the best thing about it, all 7 of those goals are at even strength. None of them are on the power play. He has been producing at a very good level at 5-on-5, and that's exactly what you want to see out of a young 22-year-old. He's still very young. He is so talented. He has so much room to grow and get better. I think his overall game has taken a massive step forward, and his confidence is clearly at an all-time high right now with the dekes he's making in these playoffs, especially in this series against the Panthers. He has made some phenomenal moves. He's been playing out of his mind, and I am so happy to see Lafreniere really take that big step forward, especially as a Canadian Rangers fan. I love watching Lafreniere play. He is so much fun to watch, and definitely is going to be a very good player for a very long time in the NHL. And now moving on to the next guy here, and that is Vincent Trocheck. I think his overall two-way game is phenomenal. He can get under the other team's skin sometimes, but with what he's done offensively so far these playoffs as well, it has truly been amazing. You take a look at the goal he scored, obviously, in Game 4 there against the Panthers. That was a nice one, but here, his overall stats, 14 games played in the playoffs, 8 goals, 11 assists for 19 total points. Having a good two-way game like that, him being so dominant on the faceoffs, he's overall kind of just all-around great game. His defensive game and play on the penalty kill, I think, is fantastic for this team, and the faceoffs are something that is so important to have as well, especially being a penalty killing kind of guy. Having a great faceoff taker like Vincent Trocheck on the PK is so important to have. So I think he's just an all-around fantastic hockey player. Offensively, defensively, he is amazing. And when you consider his contract as well being a $5.625 million cap hit, that is an absolute steal. He is a phenomenal player. He should be making a lot closer to $8 million than he is closer to, $5.5. He's a phenomenal player, and I truly do think is an absolute steal, and is definitely looking like one of the best free agent signings by the Rangers in quite a while. And the last guy I wanted to talk about quick here, who I think has been quite good so far these playoffs, but especially in this series against the Panthers, and that is Barclay Goodrow. I think this is a guy for a fourth liner. He has done an amazing job. I mean, for a fourth line guy who's more known as a kind of a two-way, defensive kind of forward, having 14 games played, 6 goals, 2 assists, 8 points is absolutely amazing. I mean, he scored a very clutch overtime game winner for the Rangers so far this series. He's been great so far these playoffs. I mean, 6 goals out of a fourth liner in 14 games played is phenomenal. He's also a great, offensive threat on the penalty kill as well. A great PK guy, but on the PK, he can be a good offensive player as well, getting the odd shorthanded point or goal as well. He's an all-around very talented player, and for a fourth-line guy is quite good. And one thing that I think is very bad so far in this series against the Panthers has been the special teams. I know there's other stuff as well, like defensive zone issues at moments when this team is, not being able to clear the puck very well. They can't make a breakout pass. They can't get to their zone. They're getting stuck in their zone, and the Panthers are putting on a lot of pressure. That's been bad at times as well, for sure. But one thing that I really want to talk about is the special teams. This has been what normally is a big strength of the Rangers, has been quite awful and has been a bit of a downfall for this team. The overall power play has been horrendous. 1 for 11 so far in this series. 9.1% of the time they're scoring the power play. That is just awful. That is absolutely terrible. Nowhere near good enough for a team that had the third best power play in the regular season and did quite solid so far in the playoffs as well up until this series. This has to be better. And we finally saw that first power play goal scored in game 4 there, but we got to see more, goals scored in the power play. This is normally a big strength of this team, and it has been quite awful so far. And now taking a look at the penalty kill, which has not been good enough either, nowhere near what it should be. It is at a 66.7% so far in this series. 10 for 15 is not good enough. The Panthers are scoring 1/3 of their power plays that they get. That's too high. The Rangers have to be better on the PK. I mean, it just has to happen. This was a team who also, just like their power play, finished 3rd in the regular season in penalty kill as well. They were top 3 in both categories, and right now they're looking like nowhere near good enough. At this point in this series, they have to be better on the PK and the power play. It just has to happen if this team truly wants to have a chance of potentially winning a Stanley Cup. And the only real lineup change that I would like to see for Game 5 is seeing Filip Chytil take the spot of Jack Roslovic. I think the rest of the line could stay the exact same, but adding in Chytil there on that line alongside Kreider and Zibanejad could be a nice little upgrade there. I think Roslovic missed quite a few good chances in Game 4 there. Didn't play the best, and I think overall these playoffs has just not been much of a difference maker at all. So maybe switching things up there, taking Roslovic out of the lineup for the first time in these playoffs so far could be a nice change for this team. And I think Kreider and Zibanejad need a bit of a mix up there. They haven't been doing the best offensively the last little while here, so seeing Chytil go up there on that line alongside them could be a nice little switch. And it does seem like Filip Chytil missing Game 4 was just because of him missing so much time due to an injury, so they want to give him an extra day's rest there. As post-game after that Game 4 loss there, Peter Laviolette, the Rangers head coach, said, quote, "It's just part of Phil coming back after such a long layoff and what we feel is best for him to continue to move forward for us. You're asking a lot for a guy that missed 6 months to come back in and get up to that speed. This is part of the plan." And it makes a lot of sense because Phil has missed a ton of time. He got hurt back in October, then didn't play any games up until that second round against Carolina there near the end. Played a couple games there, played a few so far in this Panthers series. So it makes a lot of sense here that he obviously going to kind of ease back in there. A game off here is fine. There's no more kind of 2 days off in between games anymore anyways. So having him have an extra day off there is definitely not too big of a deal. And hopefully he can be ready to go for Thursday when this team will definitely need his skill set, obviously, to really help potentially win this series. Next up here, though, taking a look at another quote here from Chris Kreider. He says post-game after that Game 4 loss, quote, "We've got to do a better job of advancing pucks up the ice and establishing ozone presence. A lot of that falls on me. I've got to be able to get in there and win pucks, get my body on pucks, move my feet, and allow us to get up the ice and start rolling." I think a guy like Filip Chytil there alongside Kreider and Zibanejad can definitely help a lot with that, other than a guy like Roslovic, who is a fine player, more of a middle six kind of guy, more of a third liner. I think Filip Chytil is a true kind of top 6 talent. Adding him alongside them, especially if he can really get back into form here, could be a massive, massive help for this team. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, please smash the like button. It helps out the channel a ton. I would really appreciate it. If you are a Rangers fan, don't forget to subscribe for daily New York Rangers content, as I do post every single day. And also don't forget to comment down below your thoughts on all these players I talked about in this video, how you think this series is going so far, as well as how do you think Filip Chytil will do throughout the rest of these playoffs. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next one. See ya.